Hi everyone, my name is Piyush. I'm the Chief Customer Officer at Mathco. Welcome to the AI Blueprint. This is a conversation between two professionals, a safe space where we geek out about various aspects of AI, demystify the mystery and clarify the messy, but more importantly, talk about brilliant ways in which AI becomes real in organizations. Welcome to another episode of the AI Blueprint. We have Gail Muldoon with us as the guest today. I have known Gail for almost a year now, but I think that she has had one of the most fascinating and diverse backgrounds that I'm very intrigued with. So we'll get to learn a lot about her today. She plays the role of Vice President of Data and Analytics at Stellantis. And through this podcast, we want to make sure that our audience gets to learn a thing or two about how to make AI happen within their organizations. Gail, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Gail, like I mentioned, I think your journey has been very fascinating. From astrophysics to geophysics to working with Department of Defense to working on AI in the automotive space. Can you tell us a little bit about what's the red thread that connects all of this together? How did this all happen?
Yeah, it's funny because it seems so obvious to me. I mean, it's all math, right? Math and programming. So I loved physics, but I specifically loved applied physics. So I always studied it, in the context of the stars or in the context of, in my case, climate change and Antarctic ice. So I always applied it to something. And when I was reflecting in grad school, I needed a big girl job at some point. I had to do something after I got out of school. I was thinking about which parts of my day that I really enjoyed doing. And it came down to the statistics and the programming. So what do you do if you love statistics and programming? Well, data science, it turns out, is a really great application of those skills. So I lived in Austin at the time. I went to grad school at the University of Texas. Really great data science community, as I think you know as well. So I got involved with the people who worked professionally as data scientists. We're training to, there were just starting to be degrees in data science. So I kind of fell in with those communities, figured out it would be fun, and transitioned into the private sector after that.
I was looking you up and I found this video of you about you calling yourself the ice whisperer.
Oh, geez.
What was that about?
So I studied Antarctica and Greenland, actually. I studied polar ice. So what I did was ice dynamics. So it was the physics of ice. If you don't know much about ice, which I think many people don't, so these large ice sheets are actually liquid, so they flow under their own weight. So it's a gigantic, literally, fluid dynamics problem. So what I did was field work. We would do observations of the Antarctic ice sheet and also the Greenland ice sheet. And I would take those back to my supercomputer in Austin, and I would take the boundary conditions from our observations and feed them into finite element models. And my specialty was actually uncertainty quantification of melting ice sheets in the face of climate change.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
From stars to ice to Earth.
Yep.
And to automotive, right?
Yeah.
That's like a fascinating masterclass in a journey well done. So another thing that I know that in your role at Stellantis, you've grown really from grounds up. Started off as a data scientist and are now playing a role as a vice president who heads up all of data analytics at Stellantis. Now, can you tell us a little bit about what you had to learn, and unlearn during this journey, to get to a leadership role like this?
Yeah, so I would say the first thing I had to learn, the primary thing I think I had to learn, was the balance between art and science. I am trained to be a hardcore scientist. I want data, I want proof. I'll believe you when you prove it to me. And in the business world, and really in real life in general, you just have to kind of take a step back. There's context. You don't always have the complete data. It doesn't always point directly to your answer. And so there is some nuance there. There is some just, contextual understanding from experience. There is some additional layer of just understanding how the industry is moving, or some business knowledge to layer on top of that. So I did have to soften my stance a little bit that no, the data is all I need, and I'm going to be able to solve all of your problems only from the data that I can see today. So I definitely had to learn to make that balance and take that into the room when I make recommendations and allow for that flexibility. For me, I think the biggest thing I had to unlearn was that mindset of being a single contributor. So I, for a long time, was a doer. I was hands on keyboard. Even after I became a manager of teams, I was still right there with them. I'm doing QA, I'm looking at the code, I'm helping them solution problems. Now that I'm at a higher level strategic role, I have to stop myself from saying, okay, we want to go do this and let's talk about how we're going to do it. Because really the how, I have a lot of really smart people on the team who at this point are, more up to speed on the cutting edge tech than I am in many cases. And I have to leave it to them. They're going to come up with a better solution than I am in the 5 minutes that I have for the brief. So I've had to unlearn being that close to every single problem and just delegate to the team, let them do their thing, because that's how we're going to get the best result.
Thanks a lot for that. Can you define the role for us a little bit? Like, what does success look like in a role of a VP of Data and Analytics at Stellantis? What does your team think is success? What do your bosses and leadership think is success? And what do you think is success?
So I work in the commercial side of the business. So at the end of the day, my bosses, my leadership would tell you that, sales, market share, we're here to sell cars. We're here to sell, the services around vehicles. So at the end of the day, they want business performance, profitability, growth. I would say, and I think probably my team would say as well, is that we're really here to make sure that people are getting what they want. We want products that people love. We want to sell them in a way that is compelling to our customers. We want to drive that loyalty. Jeep is a great example. So a Jeep guy, a Jeep person is like a culture. It's an identity for many people. If you own a Jeep Wrangler, even if you never take it off-road, you are part of a community. So we really want to foster that community. We want to bring new people into the community. And we want to make that lifestyle really ingrained in how we sell our products. So on my side, we're talking about personalized marketing. We're talking about making it easier for people to learn about the options they have, the products they can buy from us. All of the after-sales opportunities, everything from a great service deal to, a Jeep hat or t-shirt so you can show off your Jeep club membership basically all the time. So it's those kinds of things. But really, in my mind, if people love our products, then that's the first step. But a lot of that is how you present the products to people. So we spend a lot of time focused on how we can personalize messages so that they're relevant, they're timely, you're not annoying people, but, they realize, actually a new Ram 1500 is exactly what I want in my life. And thank God this ad got served up. On the backside, we also serve internal customers, in a sense, our internal stakeholders of the company. And for them, in my mind, success is being able to make a really informed decision as quickly as humanly possible. We want to go to market fast. We want to pivot quickly. We want to understand how our business is performing at any given moment. And we want to be able to make decisions going forward. So we need to be able to collect the data, analyze the data, interpret the data, and deliver back a recommendation to the business, in a millisecond, basically, as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And I'm sure you receive gazillions of questions from the business every now and then.
Yeah.
How do you balance what you would want to push as an insight or a decision to your stakeholder versus the questions that they're constantly asking? I genuinely believe that not everybody knows what are the right questions to ask. And sometimes you got to give them a nudge in the right direction to make sure that they're asking the right questions. How do you balance the push and the pull, with your stakeholders?
That could be a real challenge. So it definitely depends on what the topic is as well. So sometimes there's a critical business decision coming up. There's no way around it. And we have got to pivot to provide the answers the business needs. The recent tariffs in the US are a great example of that. No one knew what was going to happen. It was all very uncertain. It was changing by the day. So we had to pivot very quickly to figure out, as of today, what do we think the impact is going to be? How can we market this differently? What's our bottom line going to do? And we had to do that again and again, and finally it's sort of settled out now, but, we're still anticipating change. So we have to continually keep up with what we think could happen. Beyond that, I think we do have a responsibility really to innovate because I don't think the business always realizes what's possible. Certainly, senior leadership is not always aware that we've got certain amounts of data and we can get to certain insights from it. So we do carve out space in our time where we can respond very quickly to a request. I had a couple this morning that said, okay, within the next hour, pulled me these numbers for this brand who's asking. But a lot of our time, I would say up to 50% or more of our time, we do try to think about what is going to be the next big thing. What do we want to drive the business toward? Certainly, what is our competition doing? Are we keeping pace? What are other industries doing? Are we keeping pace with the cool stuff that other people are doing? And what new ideas can we bring to the table that would drive business value that maybe nobody's asked for because they didn't know to ask for it yet? But we want to start the conversation.
Yeah. At Mathco, we think about this concept of supercharged brain, which basically says that how do you create an organization which operates like a supercharged brain altogether? And the supercharged brain needs to have 4 different components. One, it needs to make sure that the foundation, which is the data, is all available in the right way, sorted out so that you have the right knowledge and right memory available. The second piece is building longer-term capabilities and longer-term solutions, which is where a lot of our custom product capability building comes into picture. The third one is what we call as rapid response, which you touched upon, that, questions keep coming from the business. You've got to be able to answer each of these questions. And fourth is constant innovation, right? It really, a combination of all the 4 coming together that leads to that supercharged brain that we want to build for organizations altogether.
Yeah.
What you talked about really balances out the rapid response and constantly innovating to think about what next. I also think that as our field is evolving and as we are seeing more and more capability come up in the form of agents, agentic AI, the whole idea of speed to insights is going to significantly shift. Have you seen any of that? Like, what are you seeing that AI can play a role in terms of enhancing or changing what you guys have been working on?
I mean, I think there's huge opportunity here. We are just at the start. So there's a lot of work to do, and a lot of it is the data backend being ready for it. So we're moving in that direction as a company for sure. We're kind of starting, we've got some customer-facing stuff coming up, a chatbot on the site, just ask your questions. You no longer need to click around. You don't need to look for it. You don't need to even know how our site is laid out. Just ask your question and it'll get answered right away. That kind of stuff feels a little bit more obvious in some sense to me. Like, I can load up my product information to be able to answer a customer's questions pretty easily. What gets more challenging in my mind is inventing, in a sense, business insights when, the agent doesn't understand what our business does. It doesn't really understand what the context of the question is always. So we're working right now toward getting to a place where even our BI tools will have some of that built in, where it is synthesizing the data and telling you the insights to get out of it, telling you what's important. I think at the end of the day, this is a long-term goal. I think we have a ways to get there, but yeah, how can you automate the process of saying, I've got this dashboard, for example, it's got standard KPIs, and some AI on the back end is helping us say, oh, check out this trend. Like, did you notice that one? Did you notice, this KPI went in a weird direction? Or, for this subset of this brand, something's going on, something's good, something's bad. That's tied to this other trend, macroeconomic or whatever over here. There's huge power there in more quickly than an individual person could get to the insights. AI could help us get there and get to the insights faster, but also potentially deeper and more meaningful insights than we're able to get to with our existing resources.
No, I completely agree with that. I have more questions on that, but before that, maybe for our audience, I want to take a little bit of a 101 class on customer data platforms or just customer analytics in general. And who better to, have you speak about that than you? I know we've done some work around this. Can you tell us a little bit, just demystify customer analytics and customer data platform for us? What are the different components that need to be built out, that need to be put in place, that can give you the confidence that you know the customer enough, you have enough intelligence behind the customer, so that when as a customer, when I get that right ad from Stellantis, I should feel like, this is it. This is exactly what I wanted. How come they knew? How do you create that aha moment? What are the capabilities that you need to build to be able to make that happen?
Yeah, so one of our primary pushes into AI in the last 5 years has been the customer analytics side. So the goal of a customer data platform, in my view, is first and foremost to bring all of your customer data together in one place. We have many brands We are a global company. We have many different departments. We have different people interfacing with our customers all the time. We've got the sales records, we've got the website records, we've got the after sales, somebody coming in for service to the dealership. We had data all over the place. And our goal was to bring all of that into one place so that it could be analyzed together. So the secondary piece of that is once you have it together, you need to be able to join it together. So just dumping it all in one database is not that useful. I need to know that Piyush was the one who opened my email and the one who came to my dealership and the one who purchased a vehicle and the one who came in for an oil change and the one who bought a hat and the one who, I need to know that it was you all along so that I know you better. I know, what you were shopping on the site, what you were comparing maybe. You really cared about the deals, so you were checking out the incentives page, those kinds of things. So in order to do that, we call the process unification, but it's basically the identity graph of who is who. What is a common denominator identity identifier for each person so that we can use all of that contextual information to target you, to send you a message that says, hey, I'm so glad you bought a new vehicle. Here are some features on it that you would probably really like to know about. Or right now I see that you're in market. I see you're shopping. And I see that you are really interested in red Grand Cherokees, under a certain price point. Here's a deal. Here's the availability at your local dealership, really shortcutting the process for you. And in order to do that, we need to know as much as we can about you. So we collect all of our first party data together. We resolve it in the identity graph, and then we go and build our machine learning on top of it to score you along many different dimensions.
Got it. In order to be able to do that, you of course need a really good team, that makes it all happen. That we are in the business of making sure that we have the right teams in place, right technology in place. There's a lot of learnings that we have all had about how to build the right team for, leading a data analytics charter. What is your definition of this is the right team, or what are the right skill sets that one should have to be able to succeed in roles working with people like you?
So I'm sure it depends on the company and how they're organized. What's worked well for us is having a lot of technical folks sitting close to the business folks. So from a technical perspective, I would say our foundational architecture and everything depends heavily on our data engineering team. So the architecture was set up to begin with. So I know many people have dedicated data architects to kind of map that out. Then our data engineers go and implement. So they are doing the data ingestion, they're managing those pipelines, they're cleaning up the data and running through the internal processes to get it to a state where a data scientist can use it, for example. Then, as you know, we have a large data science team that then takes that curated data, the resolved identities, all of that, and they go score, tell me who's in market, tell me who's going to defect from our product soon, tell me who's more price sensitive, calculating customer lifetime value, things like that. So the data scientists really generate the insights. We also have branched into the MLOps space, so really productionizing those models, making them efficient, making them truly kind of always on, and running as quickly and at low cost as we can so that we can do more and more and more. So all of those teams work together, but then what has really served us well is having the business teams sit very, very close to those folks. Because they can brief them, they can say, hey, I've got a crazy idea. How would we do X? I want to market to a new audience. What do you got? How could we slice this differently? So they can kind of come back with, in a sense, a layperson's view, but just a business concept. We've got a new product. How might I find people to sell it to? Or how might I learn more about what our next product should be? So them understanding the data that we've got and the capabilities that we have has been hugely beneficial for our success.
Yeah. We think that even our technical folks need to really have some understanding of the business and the context on which they're working on. Even the data engineer, if they're working on the data set, they need to be able to know what is it going to be used for eventually, and keep that in mind as you start building solutions. We've created these two unique roles called the role of a business translator and the role of a consumption analyst. The business translator is, exactly doing what you described, which is making sure that you connect the dots between what the business wants and what you can really make happen using analytics and AI. And then the consumption analyst is something that is focused on making sure that what you create gets consumed appropriately, and creates value at the end of the day. We always see that we create so many systems, but then hardly many of them get used. So having that dedicated focus on ensuring that consumption happens is absolutely important, for sure. No, thanks a lot for that, Gail. I think this was very, very insightful. I have just a few other questions around what is coming, what is coming in front of us. There is so much development in agentic AI, in AI going around. Generative AI is just the talk of the town. We were talking to this other gentleman in one of these discussions, and they said that every time somebody says the word generative AI, one should take a shot. And, that is not a good game to play in these times, right? Because there's so much going on. But in that context, my question to you is that how do you prepare your teams and yourself to constantly learn? I saw this job description the other day which said that we want to hire somebody who has 10 years of experience in agentic AI. Like, no, that's not going to happen. So how do you prepare yourself to constantly learn in this ever-evolving space?
So Stellantis has actually been pretty forward thinking about this. There's been company-wide training, for example, on even just a basic understanding of what Gen AI can do. Some of it, too, is the ethics of it, trusting it or not trusting it, obviously protecting corporate data as well. Certainly when it comes to customer use cases, we have to protect the customer data. So a lot of it is just understanding what is possible so that we can start daydreaming about it and getting some of these things on roadmaps. But we've also started to organize the data a little bit differently so that fundamental data layer looks a little different if you're going to build an agentic tool on top of it. So some of that has already started. I would say we're still largely in the daydream phase, though, the POC phase. What is possible? Let's just try it and see if it's giving me the right answers, or how would I get it to be useful to the business? So a lot of people have a ton of great ideas. Mm-hmm. Some of it I think is a little bit pie in the sky still. Like, I believe that it's coming, but it's not going to be this year. Mm-hmm. So some of it is setting expectations as well. It's not magic. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be ready out of the box. And frankly, making sure the leadership understands that we have to invest in our resources. We have to invest in our people. Mm-hmm. We have to get folks in with these specific skills. I will say I haven't had to try too hard with the team because they're all so excited about the technology, right? They're spending their personal time learning about these things, and they're coming to me and saying, I got an idea, let's go do it. So carving out some time to just let them go try something, even a toy problem, has been huge. But there's just a ton of excitement. So it hasn't been that hard to get people interested. Yeah. And now it's just a matter of making sure everyone realizes what it's really going to take to do that kind of stuff at scale, at a corporate level, in a way that we can truly go to market, and quite frankly, a highly regulated market.
Absolutely. If I were to ask you that in the spectrum of, a complete cynic to a complete believer, where do you lie in terms of believing in AI?
I'm like 80% believer. I'm bullish on this for sure. We're going to get there. Mm-hmm. I'm just reasonable about the time, mm-hmm. I think. I think some people are like, oh, we can do everything right now. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, well, wait a minute, At the enterprise level, truly, we're not quite ready yet, but we will absolutely get there.
Yeah. No, thanks a lot for that. This is my last question, Gail. Given your journey, given the roles that you've played, if you were to give a few tips or a few things that one should learn or one should really focus on in this space altogether, what would that be, just to help our audience?
Good question. I would say it's been hugely beneficial for me, and maybe this goes without saying, but to have the technical background before trying to lead these kinds of functions. So the fact that I know what it takes to get a problem off the ground, worked on, complete, delivered to a stakeholder and actually add some value, I think is hugely important. So taking that time, taking those years to really get in tune with the technical side, even just so you can understand what is a reasonable timeline. How many resources do you need? I definitely try to defend my team to say, no, hold your ground. We can't be pushed too quickly and then do a sloppy job of something. We are the experts. We know what it should take. And I feel that I've benefited a lot from being on that side of the fence, where somebody isn't just expecting miracles from me because, they saw that it can be done and they think that it can be done by tomorrow. So that's a constant discussion as we actually go to implement things. Aside from that, I would say, I said I was an 80% believer in Gen AI, but just keeping an open mind to those new technologies. There is always going to be something new. And it's exciting and we should be embracing it. We should be, thoughtful about it. We can't run too quickly, like I said. And I don't want to go off the deep end a little bit and forget our business as usual because we're doing a lot of cool things already. We have to keep those trains on the tracks, but always carving out that space to try something new. And frankly, even if it fails, being excited about the fact that you tried. Because you learn maybe more sometimes from a failed test than you do from one that works. And I think that's easy to forget, especially for leadership. But sometimes you just have to try it to see. And maybe you actually learn something that leads you to something even better. You kind of leapfrog your idea into something even bigger.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for that, Gail. Really lovely to have you.
Yeah.
Good speaking to you. Hopefully our audience is going to learn a thing or two from what we talked about today. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.